Good morning, traders. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Trader Bacon Show. I am your host, Gates Adams. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. We are back with some fresh, new stuff. So first and foremost, wanted to announce that the 80% off sale has been extended. We have 3.5 more days, 80% off, half price. I believe it's half price resets. And $125 lifetime PA fee. So make sure you take full advantage of that. Use promo code Benzinga for the best prices available at all times. So make sure you get that put in there as well at apextraderfunding.com. We will be giving away 3 evaluations on today's show, just like we do on every show. Last week's winners, we have, let's see here, we have Andy, Beloved, and Karen. I'm not sure it's Henry or Andy. I have conflicting information, so we will get that confirmed. But congratulations. If you won, you already know. So my apologies if there's any confusion on that one. But make sure you get that form filled out for today's show. And we will be giving away 3 evaluations before the end of the day as well. Also a very, very exciting announcement for me personally. If you have had an opportunity to check out the Forge Trader podcast, 13 episodes already set up, and I'm very proud of them, very excited about what we have done. I have not done an episode since August, so I had some other commitments that I needed to get handled and taken care of, but we will be back starting before the end of the month. So keep an eye out on iTunes and Spotify for the Forge Trader podcast. More interviews, more in-depth, and a lot more fun and excitement. So make sure to check that out. If you have not heard the podcast yet, go check it out, get caught up before we start resuming new episodes. So all of that said, today we've got an exciting guest. Moises, aka Flex Futures, is going to share some insights with all of us. He is a full-time trader. He's got a really fun story and just some great, exciting tips that he's going to be able to share with you on today's episode of the Trader Bacon Show. Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Are you ready? Because the Trader Bacon Show starts right now. Flex, good morning. What's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning, man. Good to see you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, man. So welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you hanging out and spending some time with us today. This is always a lot of fun.
Thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's get a little bit of background on you. We always kind of like to figure out, how the journey started, what sort of has been going on. How did you actually get into the world of trading? I love your story, by the way. I already know the answer a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit background on what I told you prior. So, like the funny thing is, I went into, let's say, entrepreneurship in 2018-19. I started an online fitness coaching business, and I went full time on that in 2019. That spanned into 2021, where I believe it was 2021, where I started trading, and you know how it goes, GME options of that year, and I got wrecked. Options, I mean, I got wrecked. I had whatever I saved through my business, I got destroyed. I didn't know what I was doing. I was taking signals. It was awful. A year later of that, I found futures in 2022 in March. And, that was the first time where I actually started to realize that I didn't know what I was doing and that I had no idea what technical analysis was, charting was, anything was. So from that moment in March 22, when I stumbled into futures, that's when I actually started to kind of learn and dive into it. And it wasn't until, 2020, fall of 2022, that I started with Apex, my first accounts. And I think it was like Apex and Top Step. And, that's when the pain really started. It was from that moment where I was forward testing. And what that means is I had money on the line every single time. I was buying accounts and learning through it, and that was both that was a double-edged sword, because the more learning and the more pain, the deeper I found myself contemplating, is this going to work? This isn't working. And a year later, 2020, summer of 2023, is when I started to really get invested into reading, into learning different strategies, and refining my own strategy, refining a trading plan, following structured routines, and making trading my focal point. So trading was my center. And then my structure and my routine and my life essentially revolved around everything I wanted to accomplish in trading. So 2023 summer was like the inflection point. And I went full time officially, nothing else on my plate, no secondary business or anything in the beginning of 24. We're in 25 now. So I was always, I was kind of dueling it. So I was full time trading for 2 years, but I was also still running the secondary business for about a year. And then I dropped off the secondary business. And I've been just, focused and trading full time for about a year and a half now. Yeah.
That's awesome, and obviously you're here for a reason, and we'll get into some of that fun stuff here as we go. I want to make a comment here, or at least to address one of the comments here. Matt in the chat says you're talking about going through and sort of maybe kind of getting serious, reading the books and doing the studying and taking a deeper approach to trading. This is something that I took on a little over a year ago, February of last year, and have absolutely seen some growth and development. I've got hopefully an announcement for 2 weeks from now. We'll hold off on that for a minute. But Matt says, I'm doing the same thing, man. I hope I get through it. And that statement right there resonates with me so much because I know throughout this process, I have struggled. Look, I've had some good times. I've had some bad times. I've quit. I can't even tell you how many times I've quit trading. I've had that subconscious thought of, hey, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm not made for this. So you talk about going through that process, and I think you said summer of 23. When you started getting there and you started, look, I mean, you're not putting $5,000 on the line each time, but you're buying evaluations. You're going through the process, and there's costs associated with it. How did you handle those tougher times where it's like, okay, I'm just putting good money after bad. I'm not seeing the progress I want to see. How did you fight your way through that?
So I had a moment, 2 moments, let's say, where, like you said, I wanted to quit. And I asked myself, I said out loud, I need to stop this. Like, I cannot keep doing this. And I sat with myself and I just felt internally that there was no stopping. There was no plan B. There was no end. And in the entire time that I've been doing this, I've never taken a break and like fully stopped. But I sat with myself twice, and I remember vaguely like those were emotional moments and times where I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to quit, and I really wanted this pain, because it's what it is, to just be lifted from me.
Yeah.
In those moments, I found that the only answer that resonated inside me was like, there is no quit. There's no stopping. So the only thing I can do, if there's no stopping, the only answer is to dig deeper. So every single time I had that moment, it would say, no, I can do something better. Whether that was journaling, and actually one of those moments led to journaling, which that's how I stat track, and we'll get into that, but led to journaling. One of those moments led to me finding my faith. Just, it is what it is, finding my faith and getting closer spiritually. Those moments kind of tore through me, but also revealed who I was underneath. And I bring all of that into my training, and I take it extremely seriously. I don't consider this a game. I don't consider it a hobby. I don't consider it something that's supposed to be easy. I consider it an extremely difficult task. And my job is to rise up to that occasion every single day.
I love hearing you say, look, I'm going to take a little bit of a trading aside here and just a little personal message here. You talk about the fact that you found faith through this process, something that I have done through a similar process that I actually talk about pretty in depth in the podcast. And John, by the way, thank you so much for the commentary on the podcast. I love it too. It's a very passion project for me. But I bring this up for a specific reason, because I'm of the belief that where you are in other areas of your life will be reflected in your trading, and vice versa. If you have a bad day in the charts, it can lead to a bad day with a spouse or whatever the case may be. If you have if you're sick and you're not feeling right and you're just feeling exhausted, that's going to reflect the way that you react in the chart. So I think taking care of that physical body, the spiritual body, the relationships, all leads to that sort of confluence of everything working together. And I love how we as traders use trading terminology to talk about real life, as you were talking about your inflection point. So as you took this journey and it became more than just the money, and you started to see and learn and develop more about yourself, what did you start to find as the success continued to grow?
I found that the money was secondary. I found that the most important thing was my love for trading and becoming a better trader. So I zoned in on my stats, and I encourage anyone who's struggling, anyone at all. If you do not understand your stats as a trader and you can't describe what your actual edge is and how effective it is under what conditions, you're leaving growth on the table. Once I started to, because the thing is, imposter syndrome is real. In March of 2024, between May and June, I made 30K in Apex. The summer of 2024, I gave 20K back. Why? I started telling people about my win. And I started telling people about my win. I told my family. And while it was great and all, I started to feel like, can I do this again? Was it luck? Because the first thing people say when it happens is, wow, it's a lot, but what if this? What if that? And I had shielded myself from that by keeping it mostly to myself. So imposter syndrome hit and I lost 20K like in the summer between July and August. So, you know, when I started stat tracking, okay, to get back to basics, that gave me the confidence to tell myself, look, your win rate is this, your average win loss is this, your best days are this. This is what works. And I frame it as such. So when I have drawdown, which I do get into drawdown, I do take losses, I am able to stay flexible and get back in the game quickly because I'm confident in my stats. Like that to me has proven what I'm capable of. So I don't have that question constantly in the mirror. Am I a good trader? I just look at my stats. I'm like, remember what you can do and get to work.
Well, and I think that's such a valuable lesson. And look, if you've been watching the show for more than a minute, this comes up over and over and over again. When you start to treat the business like a business, all of a sudden you start to find success. I don't think that that's coincidence by any stretch of the imagination. And this is just proven guest after guest after guest, right? And so when you talk about stats, I'm a big stats guy. I love stats in like every aspect of my life. It's kind of a fun thing for me, but it's the information. It's what stats tell you. And I think the easiest way to get away from worrying about what this last trade did is when you know what the next 100 trades are going to do. And so it's so much easier to let go of the anxiety of watching the trade finish out. I cut my trade early today. I don't like to be in a trade during the show, but you have these moments where it's like, okay, fear will have you make decisions that will cost you money, whether it be less profit on a winning trade or taking a loss that you shouldn't have taken. All of that is determined by building that confidence in knowing, like I said, what that next 100 trades is going to look like. So I always have to kind of harp on this a little bit when it comes up on the show because I think it's so incredibly important. So important that I still have not effectively done this on my own. I'm trying to get better. I actually just signed up for some software that will help me do that. And I know it's important. And I know it takes a little extra time and a little extra commitment. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take much. And at the end of the day, those results are what comes from that. So
yeah, so my advice to people that think it's a long time. So there are some people that in journaling they want to replay the trade. And for me, I don't do that because in journaling you have to go into a focused mindset of what are you trying to gain from it, not just stare at the chart and say, well, I could have taken extra dollars. That's not the point of it. So I go into it and I look at a few things. One, I look at my losses on the day. The first thing I review are my losses. What could I have done better? Why did I take a loss? Then I move on to my winners. Did the win follow the proper plan? And if my efficiency, like if I left money on the table, did I follow my plan? If I left money on the table because I got out based on what I saw, or I felt like I had made enough money, then that's a win. There's no more than that. And then I just look at the stats. So what are the stats on the week, on the month, on the day? How did I do? And that's it. And my journaling takes me 25, 30 minutes, unless it's a horrible day, in which case it might have to take a little longer.
Right. And of course, a lot of traders don't want to take those extra minutes. They would rather spend another 20 to 30 minutes in the charts losing money because they don't know their stats versus taking that time to commit and grow. So thank you for sharing that. I just such a huge believer in that. So let's talk a little bit about your strategy and sort of what has gotten you to this point, because we all know strategies evolve over time. You sort of get that baseline and then you continue to build and grow until it sort of meets that criteria that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and pull up some charts here and let's see what it is that you're actually looking for when you get in there.
Gotcha. Sure thing.
There we go. Okay. All right.
So let me go to just start at the, let's say like 4 hour run. This is the NQ chart, by the way. And before I explain anything, I just want to give a quick recap of how I got to where I am with strategy, right? So I started off, once I actually started technical analysis, with like Wyckoff and smart money concepts. So Wyckoff, smart money concepts. that kept me a little bit too on the slower time frame. I kept missing the bigger picture. That led me to auction theory, market profile, volume profile, order flow. That enabled me to see the wider picture, but then I was still missing things. That led me to ICT concepts, the price delivery, time and price, algorithmic price action. And now I combined all those things, mostly auction theory, time and price, ICT, into a strategy that I've been running now for well over a year, and I haven't tweaked it in a while. And that's what you see here. So, basically, let's just look at the hourly, or let's look at the 30 minutes actually. So on the NQ chart, make this nice and big. So, I mark the overnight highs, midnight, overnight low, and then you see the time macros for Asia, London, right? That's like ICT and auction theory, let's say. I enter all my trades on the DOM using the price ladder. So I trade time and price, meaning that when I enter at a specific price. I'm not entering on a candle, on a wick, on a fair value gap. If that fair value gap doesn't align with a specific price that I'm interested in, I don't enter.
Okay.
And then Bookmap is my visual order flow. So people look at Bookmap and they're like, it's convoluted, there's a lot of stuff. And it's true, there is a lot of things, but if you know what to look at, it's not so bad. So what I do basically on Bookmap, I activate candles, which a lot of people don't do. And I'm looking at the heat map to see key liquidity zones. And then I'm making sure that, so like I saw a podcast you did, one of the shows you did recently, you talked about confluences. So I stack confluences in real time. And that's given me information onto when to enter, why not to enter, direction, trend, et cetera, et cetera. So what I want to see essentially, if I'm looking at the open this morning, say 9:30 a.m. So I'm looking at the open, let's say 5. Where's the open? 9:30 candle. So at the open, I was looking at a quick rejection. So I saw where we had pushed up and then we rejected down. I didn't get in here at all. I waited for the price to develop. But if we go back to Bookmap, let me just go back here to 9:30. 8, 9. Yeah. So on Bookmap, 9:30, I believe that the overnight POC was still around here, 19,950. We rejected it. We never got over it. And then we started to come down and we saw, just from the volume perspective, the delta sellers were at 19,550, sellers were stacked. And we started to push down. Now, I didn't take a trade this morning until we lost 800. So I waited. I was on hand till 9:45. So another part of the strategy is I use opening range. So my opening range is the first 15 minutes. That's why these yellow bars right here are the opening range. So once we pushed down and we broke 800, and that aligned with the open, I saw that we were going to take the 9:30 low. And that aligned with Bookmap liquidity, what I saw in order flow. I entered on the DOM. I went, I waited for 800. I entered around 801, filled, and then I took that down to 19,760-ish where I got out. Yeah, so it wasn't a perfect exit, but again, I don't care about that perfect exit. Yeah, that's meaningless to me, because at the end of the day, with how violent NQ is, I want to get in, I want to ride the momentum, I want to get out. I don't want to sit there. I usually set break even stops, and I would rather be taken out at break even on a runner and reposition than sit in a trade that's going against me. Like that's, I do not want to do that. So that's basically the logic for execution. Now the logic for, as far as like, are we trending, or what are we doing? It's high time frame. So, you start the 4-hour chart, see where we are, down to the 1 hour, see where we are. The blue boxes are fair value gaps. The orange boxes are fair value gaps.
Different time frames.
Yes. So then and then you can see the volume profile, POC, there's a market structure on the chart. So like Monday low, previous week low, the higher highs. And then, so basically from there, that's giving me the data in real time. That I'm looking at order flow in real time. And then I'm entering trades on the DOM, managing the trade, exiting the trade, taking a step back, reassessing, and then repeating it all over again, So my trade times, I start from 9:30 a.m. and I finish hard stop 11 a.m.
Beautiful. Now, would you be in a trade at 11 and let it go?
No, I get time stop.
You're out.
Flatten, time stop.
Okay, perfect. Gotcha. So I want to talk a little bit about the confluences. This seems to be the word of the day today. So when new traders look at charts like yours, where you've got the multiple screens, you've got Bookmap, which I'm sorry, I love Bookmap, but it is very intimidating looking until you start to kind of get the hang of it, right? And
Right.
you know, some people trade on a DOM, some people trade in the charts. I mean, look, there's a whole variety of different things that people do. But as you're going through this process and you're learning to build confluences one over another, it can be very intimidating to teach this to a new trader, because it's like, how fast do I have to make these decisions, right? And look, we all know that the more you do something, the better you get at it. But for you, how long did it take to where you were really comfortable looking at multiple screens, multiple charts,
Sure.
multiple software types, to
Right.
where it felt comfortable making that snap decision when you're in that moment?
So the answer a lot of people aren't going to like, and it's
Okay.
time and screen time. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. So on volume profile,
Mhm.
low volume areas of low volume nodes usually line up with fair value gaps.
Right.
On 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 Bookmap, if you're looking at SCP, the volume profile, and on the heat map, that usually aligns with volume profile and fair value gap.
Right.
If you're looking at liquidity zones, that usually aligns. But you're not going to mentally be able to see these things and realize, wait a second, it's a web. It's all leading to the same thing
Right.
until you read the subject matter enough times where it's ingrained into your head, so you can pick it off quickly. So that's the problem here, is that like one of the reasons why I did forward test and spend in the beginning, the first two years, so much screen time, weekends, all day. I mean, the hours are countless, was so that I can build that reflex and build that, that intuition from when I'm seeing these confluences build up and stack. It goes from register, 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 execute,
Mhm.
not register, 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 think about it,
Right.
you know?
Well,
So,
and that's ultimately the point is, and I like, of course, logically, we all know that answer, but I think it needs to be said from time to time, because there is no quick answer. There is no quick overnight success when it comes to trading. There's just not. Some people might get lucky early on, but to develop a level of consistency just takes time in the charts. And back testing is great, but forward testing is a different beast. And so we have to sort of inundate ourselves with data from every angle to really start to build this automation within ourselves. Not automation in the charts, that's a whole different beast, but automation within ourselves, so that when we can look at it, we can see a snapshot real fast and say, this is it, right?
right.
And there's no shortcuts to that. And so I appreciate the insight on that. So let's talk a little bit about kind of where you've gone now. You actually did something that I think was many people might find to be a little bit extreme, in terms of basically committing yourself to this process and going full into being a full-time trader. And so you're kind of at a pivot point right now, right?
How so?
Well, you said that you sort of separated yourself from all the people around you. You moved away.
Oh yeah, so right. So in yeah. So I the further that I got psychologically into accepting that what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was full-time trade, and I didn't want to fail.
Right.
And the more I accepted that, the more okay I became with any type of like isolation or being away from people. I mean, I don't want to I don't want it to sound depressing either, because it isn't. Because to a lot of people it can come off that way, right? Because like, who wants to put themselves in a position where they're disconnected from the world in order to succeed? It sounds awful. Some people, and I just happen to be one of those people, I need that. I can hyper focus, but I can also be easily distracted. I can hyper focus, but I'm also susceptible to, like, let's say, like Discord noise or chatter or opinions and things like that. So for me, yes, I found myself in a position where I had moved away to where I was living a couple of years ago. And instead of trying to network with people in the new place, instead of trying to, find my group, I didn't. I still basically to myself, and I revolved everything around becoming a better trader. And I had a lot of time, but I also had too much time to sit with myself, and too much time to think about the losses, and too much time to. So it was a double-edged sword. I think that now where I'm at, going through that, um, once you find yourself in a position where you're confident as a trader, once you find yourself in a position where you have an edge that works, and you are making money, like just making some money. I think the most beneficial thing for anyone would be around other traders, even if it's online or whatnot. However, I am not talking about signal groups. I don't have a mill. To each their own.
Sure.
But any place where you have a group of traders making conflicting biases and trade ideas
Yeah.
and introducing FOMO into a chat, you're going to fail. Like
Right.
that's not that's not what I mean. So I'm a part of one Discord. It's on my link in my X, and it's funny. It's the Apex unofficial Discord. It's ran by an Apex moderator.
Right.
And that Discord's been great because we only talk about prop firms and we only talk about psychology and we only talk about trading. So the sacrifice to get to where I'm at has been great. I think I told you, at one point I had to decide. So like before I hit, it's interesting. Before I hit my first $30,000 Apex payout, I hit rock bottom. Like this was not working, and I didn't have any more money, and I needed to pay bills and I needed to do what I need to do. So at the time I had 2 cars, right? Now I have 1 car.
I wonder what happened
I
to the other
made
car.
a decision to sell the car because it was sitting there. I wasn't really driving, and I was like, all right, like what's more important to me, right? What's more important? So I sold the car. I took it, paid what I need to pay. I buckled in, and within 30 days, I had my first 10K payout, and within 60 days, I had racked up 30K. That last year, I made about 60K total in the year, and this year, so in 2025. As you know, I'm up 201,000 on Apex, and that came from 5 50K accounts that I built up to $35,000 each in 55 trading days, give or take.
That's beautiful. And I want to address the comment that Matt says. Matt's been very active today. I appreciate that, Matt. If you stop trading at 11, you have the entire rest of the day to hang out with people. I'm not saying that this method is for everybody. But when I talked to you before, when we were having this conversation, what I heard was commitment. And I think that things like isolation, things that like being alone, that can for some people be depressing, become not depressing but inspiring when there's a purpose behind it versus just being an introvert or just sort of excusing yourself from the rest of the world. Plus, there's an end in sight. That means that there is a light at the end of the tunnel when we sort of get to that level that we're shooting for. You see all over the internet, disappear for 30 days and blah, 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 blah. It's trading. It's not 30 days. But the reality is that sometimes it really just takes that level of commitment because, when you're trading till 11, instead of going and hanging out with people, which a lot of people are working past 11. So there's not a lot of people that are, hang outable, so to speak. But there's also what do you do with the rest of that time? You may not be trading, but you may be developing a better stat system. You may be reading a psychology book. You may be doing all sorts of other things. Did this sort of become a part of your like internalization of everything? I mean, did you sort of treat it with more time than the 11 o'clock chart cutoff?
So the 11 o'clock chart cutoff started when I became profitable. That's when I started to make money. At the first 2 years of learning, I was working all day purposely. So while I was learning, how do I say this? For as long as I was reading and building the edge, for as long as I was forward testing, that was an all day affair into the weekends all the time. I never stopped. But that's because I hadn't yet reached a place where I could scale. I wasn't profitable yet. Once I became profitable, it changed to I'm profitable now. How do I keep profitability and maintain profitability? And that came with, funny enough, less time in the charts, less time on the screen. So yes, I stop at 11 because my stats show me that after 11, volume usually dies. Lunchtime, I'll get hammered, and I don't really do too well 1 to 3 o'clock. It's not worth sitting here for hours to then come back during power hour. My stats also show me that aftermarket and pre-market, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I don't trade aftermarket or pre-market.
Right.
No, it tells me my stats might as well say aftermarket, pre-market, dumb. Just because my decision-making just isn't there. But now, so before that time was used for, like you said, reading, building systems, back testing. That time before, after I was done with the charts, I would take a break. I would go to the gym. I would, unwind, have lunch, come back, and I would see what I did in the morning, or I would read. I'd have new books coming in, et cetera, et cetera.
Hang out with Kelly on WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly. now the entire thing is I stop at 11.
Sure.
I pull the logs, upload to the journal. I shut off, and I leave. I still go to the gym and whatnot, but I'm really just planning what comes next for me. But as far as trading goes, I'm just looking forward to the next session. I need to bring the A game every session. So when I leave the office, I need to make sure that I'm not being brought down. I'm not being stressed out unnecessarily, that I'm not putting myself in a position, you know, going out on a Thursday night for drinks. Like, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I have a bedtime. Like, I have to bring the A game. So if I am trading, if say I'm trading this entire week, my life is going a certain way this week. In order for me to really unwind, like, there's this perception, and I know you see it all the time, that trade from anywhere, take your laptop, be on a boat in Barbados and take trades. That is not realistic. It's not realistic. That's influencer marketing. Any trader that I've ever spoken to who has been amazing at what they do and really trades high money, and they don't work that way. And if they're on a boat in Barbados, they're not trading. They're on a boat in Barbados. So it's not realistic, man. And I think that's something that everyone can benefit from understanding, is that if you are trying to succeed and you really, in your heart of hearts, this is what you want to do, you have to lock in and get away from this idea that trading means that you will do the minimal amount of work for the maximum amount of profit. Now, you can achieve that if you have 20 accounts, 10 accounts, 5 with Apex, because you could do less work and make more money through copy trading. But other than that, it's just not it.
Right. Well, and I think routine is critically important, and breaking out of that routine. Now, I've actually had a few traders on the show that do sort of have that lifestyle. It's not very many, but definitely the few and far between. It's not to say it's impossible, but it's probably not the reality for most traders. It's not realistic for most traders, at least until you have seasons and seasons of trading behind you.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
seasons and seasons.
Exactly. And I think that's really a lot of that. The mindset is, I've got to commit now so that I can realistically say that might be my future, right? It's not going to happen just because I decided to trade for 90 minutes and that's the end of my day, right? There's more to the job, so to speak, more to the business of trading. So listen, man, I could keep doing this for hours. I'm already a couple minutes over. So real quick, of course, if you have not done so, please be sure to fill out that form. We're giving away 3 evaluations today. Make sure you get your hands on one of those. Whether you win or whether you don't win, go to apextraderfunding.com. Pick up some extra evaluations while they're on sale. Use promo code Benzinga. Always will give you the best price available. So even if it's after the sale's over, you can still get some discounts, even if you're unaware or you haven't heard from me directly. So make sure you use promo code Benzinga. If you haven't done so, go check out the Forge Trader podcast and get caught up, so that when new episodes start to air, you are all caught up and ready to roll. I have so much fun with that, and I can't wait to get back going in there. If you have not done so, like, subscribe, comment, make sure that you are engaged with the Trader Bacon Show at all times. This keeps fresh content coming out and keeps the powers that be happy. Thank you all for your time today and hanging out with us. And Flex, what a pleasure having you on. We're going to have to keep in contact and see how things are continuing to grow for you, brother.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And the rest of y'all, one more announcement. We will not have a Trader Bacon Show next week. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a scheduling conflict. So come back in 2 weeks for the next episode of the Trader Bacon Show. Thanks for joining the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Make sure to join us next time.